I'd like to bring the meeting to order and ask that roll be called, please.
Blue, Disherud, Henry, here. Holzhauser, here. Humbles,
Here.
Wagenbach,
Here.
Wisdom.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to ask everyone stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board will now move on to the public participation portion of this meeting. Dr. Dearman will begin with the superintendent's report.
First item of business had one FOIA request. It was from a private individual, not from our community, by the name of Jason Cohey, requesting some special education numbers. We have already satisfied that request. Second item, safe routes to school update. I've asked Mr. Holmes, he's kind of taking the lead on this, to give us an update on safe routes to school.
I was able to meet with IDOT and the village at the end of May. That's the first phase of this process. And I have to say that the village has been phenomenal. Tracy Porter, our group, has been tremendous in this process. They're on top of it. There's 3 phases of this process. The first one gets started by this initial meeting with IDOT and the state, which took place in the end of May. And what that consists of is making sure everything's lined up, from blueprints to soil tests to drainage, to make sure that everything's in place. The other big decision the village has to make, I think they've already made it, is who's going to fund it initially. The Safe Routes to School grant is a reimbursement. So does the village pay for it first and then the state reimburse them? Or does the village let IDOT pay for it and there's no transaction in between? It's a no-brainer. I think they're going to let the state take care of it. It's quicker that way. So by the end of the summer, we'll be in phase 2 with completion, or the initial phase of the actual construction, probably at the earliest being in spring, but more likely probably once we dismiss from summer next school year. So May, June 2020 is when they're going to start. There's a variety of reasons why. With snow plows, having holes on 91 in November, December. A lot of reasons why you don't want to do it. You get stuck, you get frozen in. So they're going to be patient with it. They're going to do it the right way. And we hope by June 2020 it started. It's only a 5 or 6 week process to be completed. By that time it'll be done and we'll be in pretty good shape. But again, the village has been phenomenal. So I can't say enough great thing for the village and what they've done to get this thing going. So
This is the $200,000 grant that we applied for and received in conjunction with the village for the crossing at Copperfield down to Dunlap Valley.
with the big piece of that being a safe harbor in the middle. You're seeing some lighting already up there, some stoppage, but the big piece of that will be sidewalks and a safe harbor in the middle for that safety caution. So it's going pretty nice.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time with that.
Last item I have, promotional flyer promoting the district. So when an employee of a prospective business in the Peoria area is looking to relocate, we want to put something together to kind of have the realtor or the employer give them this piece of information. I'll pass them out so that they can see how wonderful our district is and potentially move into our district. So it's a way of recruiting. I work with Pip. I think Ann maybe turned me to Pip. Or Mike, I can't remember which one. Either one. Pip put this together for us, and these just got picked up today. Thank you, Carrie, for getting those. So we will start distributing these to the necessary powers that be, so we can get the good news out there about our district and hopefully recruit some families to move in. That's all I have at this point. Dr. Olmos, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will move on to the public comment section. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing none, this concludes the public participation portion of the meeting. The board will now move on to the information discussion items. Mrs. Caslett is here to present the Athletic Leadership Team 5-year facilities plan. Mrs. Caslett? Oh, thank you.
So last fall, I would say, there was discussion at one of the board meetings when we were talking about the soccer shelters, about what other facilities needed to be addressed in the district. And so at that time, we kind of started a process to, to kind of see what those were. Where does it go? Sorry. Oh, there we go. So basically what we were doing is we talked about the need for a 5-year facilities plan so that, we don't have a situation again like, what's happened with the HVAC, where something just goes down. So looking at our facilities that are aging, that might need some sort of upgrade or maintenance in the upcoming years, and then work to put these together to prioritize it. And we also talked about addressing the need for additional facilities due to obviously the growth of the district, our district programs, and then the community programs as well. So who we involved in this was Mr. Adrian and myself were kind of the ones that talked about the 5-year facilities plan. I gathered feedback from the high school coaches, talked to the middle school athletic directors, they reached out to the middle school coaches, and then the athletic leadership team worked with me. I would gather the information, give it to them, and we kind of looked to prioritize these different needs that we found. So that was pretty much comprised of myself, Mike as a member of the athletic leadership team, Chad Klein, Coach Reed, who's around here somewhere, and then Coach Gazlet. So they have been kind of the athletic leadership team that has continued to meet on a monthly basis. So we worked, after we got all the information from all these other groups, to kind of prioritize our needs. So we gathered feedback. We said, what are some things that we need? What are some things that are aging and they're going to need attention in the upcoming years? So when we got that feedback, we looked, we assessed the current facilities. I've had different groups come out and check some of our facilities, tell me how many more years we have on things before they're going to need resurfaced or whatever maybe for certain facilities. Looked at the facility usage through the district by both the district groups and the community groups. So I'm sure y'all know, Dunlap Rec uses our facilities for a lot of their programs as well. And then basically what we did is, okay, now let's prioritize these. I mean, it's just like anything, some things are, in bigger need than others at this point. So we just mapped them out into 5 years. So year one, obviously we discussed the pool at length. Since then, we've had this committee who is working to expedite that process and has done some really good work here in the last month or so. So I just kind of took that out of what we came up with. So I know that'll be it's going to be talked about tonight as well. So the two main priorities right now for me are the bleachers and the main gym would be number one. As far as we can tell, we haven't been able to find anything else except for that they're original to the building. The bleachers are not ADA compliant. They do not have handrails. We've actually had people reach out to our booster club to ask them to purchase handrails for the bleachers, which of course can't be done because if you're drilling into it, you're not able to do that to the structure. The bleachers are not functional at this time using the electronic rollout system, and we've gotten to the point where we have to repair them. It's been kind of ongoing, but we basically at this point have to have 3 people there to help pull them out. We have the guest side that's not even coming out at this point, so it's obviously a safety concern, not just for people sitting in them, but freshman games on Saturday mornings, I don't have enough in me to pull them all the way out anymore. They've gotten to that point. So, then possibly needing to hire people to come in on Saturday mornings to help with those types of game setup, just basically because we aren't able to get the bleachers out. We also have, if you've ever sat on the top, you'll notice that up against the wall, it's just basically a wooden board.
And we, about 2 years ago, we had somebody step on the wooden board and the wooden board broke. So we replaced it with another wooden board. On the sides, they've gotten to where people are standing on them and they're just completely sinking to the floor. So, obviously prioritizing this in year one because, besides just being old and not functioning properly, these are definitely a safety issue. The second one that we prioritized for year one was track resurfacing. So the track was last resurfaced in 2012. Usually they say that with a track resurfacing, 8 to 10 years. Our current track is latex, so that's kind of an outdated material for tracks. Anyone who puts down them now puts down a polyurethane track. I do believe that probably the product we got this last time was not great because the condition has deteriorated so quickly. But also this track is used every day in the spring for, give or take approximately 400 track kids between the two high school programs and then the program at Dunlap Middle and the program at Dunlap Valley. It's very worn. It's not in good enough condition to host postseason meets. With the exception of this year, we've hosted a postseason meet or sectional for, at least the last 8 to 10 years. And now we're bumping back down to 2A, so I could see us being asked to host that again, but I definitely would not accept one for this next year. In fact, I'm probably going to move the conference meet that we're supposed to host, see if another school will switch with me just because it's just so worn down. We can't get starting blocks to stay. And then the pole vault runway is extremely worn to the point where they plant, we don't even have any latex yet left, which is obviously dangerous. So those are things that are, before we resurface or before next year, are going to have to be repaired. So year two was resurfacing and painting of the floor in the main gym. So the last time that was sanded down and repainted in year two would have been approximately 10 years ago. If you haven't been in there, we're currently painting the gym. And just like with anything, we resurface the gym floor every year, but we resurface it, and over the time, the paint begins to chip, and it just starts to look, kind of dingy, and it's just something that has to be done every 10 to 15 years or so, and we haven't had that done. Like I said, in year two, it will have been 10 years. Year three is new carpet on the turf. So what they say for how long carpet on the turf is supposed to last is 8 to 10 years. I talked to Dwayne Peterson, who was athletic director at the time that the turf was laid, and he told me that they told him that a new carpet would cost a third of the cost of installation. Well, at that time, that was roughly between $250,000 and $300,000. Well, the people that I have talked to have given me, more of a number of $400,000 to $500,000. Their reason for me is that the product has gotten better, and then obviously just over time, prices go up. So our turf everyone's told me that as old as it is and how much wear, how much use it gets, that it's in pretty good shape. We have tested well on the GMAX testing, which is the safety test that we have done on it. In year three, it will have been used for 10 years, and then 20 sports seasons if you count the fall and the spring at this point. It's the most used athletic surface in the district. There's no doubt. I really wonder how Dunlap got along before it came along, because we have so many groups who use it. And then, the wear, it's just like anything. The wear and tear on the field results in the lost threads in the carpet. And that's one thing that I've asked, because we have a couple spots just because of like the wear and tear, like in the lacrosse schools areas where our threads are just completely gone. So I said, hey, are we able to just cut this piece out and replace it? Well, you can't do that because the rest of the carpet is worn down so much, and then a new piece basically would stick up above it. So it would be more of a safety concern, so they don't do those sorts of things to turf. So like I said, I've been told that 2 to 3 years is probably what is left in the life of it. I did have somebody out here a couple weeks ago, and he told me that if you really go and walk on it, that you'll notice is the threads are really coming up. And in the east end zone, which is maroon, if you put your hand down, you can pick up just like a whole handful of the green threads. And so he told me that once that kind of starts, it just kind of goes from there and continues. So one of the things, like I said, that was discussed was when we talked with all the coaches, they talked about all these facilities. They also talked about storage. A new track was, or an additional track was mentioned a lot, and just additional facilities. So this was something that we talked about at length because we do our facilities here at the high school and even at the middle schools and at the elementary schools are just, they're used year round. So basically one thing that by doing some research that we kind of looked at was like if you go up to the suburbs, everybody has a field house. Basically because you can get a lot of different things in the field house. You can put an indoor track, you can put indoor basketball courts, you can put indoor tennis courts. Currently our dance team practices in the hallway off the end wing. Locker rooms, you can do batting cages for softball and baseball. Storage, obviously we just added wrestling. We talked about them being on the balcony, but this would allow for a wrestling room. And there are just a lot of other options, classroom, I know we talked about district offices, community room. And that's one thing that we've talked about and other schools have done is kind of a community use thing with structures like this that they have built. As far as new facilities at the high school, the auxiliary gym, was really the last thing that we added in 2005. Obviously, our enrollment in the activities that we offer have changed a lot since 2005. And then obviously boys and girls lacrosse, wrestling the last couple of years, or this coming year. One of the things that we talked about is, especially in the spring, we have our practices finishing up at 9:30 at night. In the winter, it's more like 8 o'clock. But obviously that's not ideal for our student athletes to be going that late. I talked about the Dunlap Rec program, so, the 9:30 and 8 o'clock are just for our high school, but we also have our elementary gyms that are being used until the custodians leave by our Dunlap Rec programs, which is about 8 o'clock. So you're talking about anywhere from, our second, I guess, to fifth graders who are there till 8 o'clock. And then the DAC, the Dunlap Activity Center, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what we would do without it. It was something I think that was meant for a temporary solution, but it's something that we couldn't do without. And if you haven't been in the DAC, it's an old gym floor with carpet turf over it. I mean, there's no rubber pellets, there's nothing. It's just a carpet over a gym floor. So it's not an ideal facility. We use it because we have to use it, otherwise in the spring we don't have anywhere to put people. But it's definitely something that, like I said, I think was meant for temporary, and we use it all the time now. Mr. Adrian was able to get a couple of pictures of Mount Zion, who just built a field house a few years ago. And so like you can see from this, they have an indoor track. You can see the tracks on the top for the batting cages. You can see in the middle the courts. And then they've obviously branded theirs, quite a bit. And so, I mean, as far as price, this would just really range depending on what you wanted to, where you wanted to go with it. But like I said, one of the things that just came up a lot from the coaches is just the need for the additional facilities in the district so that we're not, practicing late at night and we're able to get our kids home at a decent hour in the winter and in the spring, because those are really our two main issues. Any questions about any of that?
I have a question, Katie, with the addition of the facility at DVMS, is that going to alleviate some of the issues?
I would say for DVMS, I mean, I know a lot of times they are, the middle schools are practicing in the morning to get all of theirs in. And then also, you know, I would work with Antonio a lot when he would be looking for elementary gyms too. So I would say that for them, and I mean, Jason can probably speak to it a little bit more. Look at you, Jason's like, don't even think about it.
That's mine.
So it definitely gives us another, you know, another space, but I do know that that's one thing that, I mean, even down the middle with the two gyms, you know, they still have a lot of practices in the morning because you just have so many things, activities that need the space.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thanks for the information.
Thanks for report. District Librarian Amy Stefanski will now share information regarding the district libraries. Thank you.
Okay, well, I had actually asked Amy to present. We have really, this last year, we brought back the addition of library aides at the K-5 level. That was something that years ago had been taken away, and really felt that our libraries were suffering because of that and weren't having equitable services. And so I wanted her, now that we're a year into that, to just give a little update on our libraries, K-12. So I'll hand it over to Amy.
Great. Just want to say, this will be starting my 5th year, and this is the first that we've done this. We've done a ton of growth in the library program over the last 5 years. So I'm really just excited to share some of the stats with you. And I know the questions have already come through, so I'm going to address those tonight as well. As a group, we do have a library mission statement. It's one of the things when I came in 5 years ago that we didn't really have. We didn't really have focus for the library program. This is something that we created. It was built off of our own strategic plan as a district. So just making sure that our kids, you know, foster that growth as a global citizen. They're encouraged to use technology to become better collaborators, communicators, and really promoting that self-discovery and that independence, and motivate their learning when it comes to their academics or even their independence. So there are 3 things I look at when we're building this program. So over the last 5 years, it's been about the collection. It's about cleaning up the collection, making sure that it's better and great for the 21st century learners, collaborating with our teachers and our students, and then the spaces all need to be updated, and we're currently in the process of doing that within all of the buildings right now. So when we look at the collection to start out with, we use Destiny by Follett. So Follett is they're a company, and then so we use Destiny with them all the way throughout the district. And then I go through and we're going to start identifying the gaps in the collection. I've been doing this for 3 years with the secondary libraries, but then this year with the addition of the aides down at the elementary school, we've been identifying the gaps down there. So it's been a very large weeding process down there, getting rid of things that are not needed within the curriculum, are outdated, are damaged, and then bringing in all the new stuff that's right out there. Re-establishing the program for the teachers. This has been really great for me, is re-establishing my connections with my teachers, making sure that they know that the library is there for them, building that rapport with them, and making sure that we're bringing those resources back in the library. And then also gaining positive rapport with our students, so making sure that we're there for the students and that we want to be there for the students, and that they can check out the books if they want to, they can come down and ask us questions, and they can do their research, and that really safe academic environment. So some of the fun stats that other people have not seen, but I live by my stats. So we as a district have 53,000 books within our district and all of our libraries. We're valued at about $820,000, and this is just our current collection. We did this year add 4,500 brand new books to our collection. These are things that were purchased with our funds and then also donated. We had a very large winter book drive that happened this year, and we were able to bring all these new books into our collection. And so we were able to add $55,000 worth of value into our collection as well. So that kind of upped that value piece. And then we had over 84,000 books checked out by our students, district-wide, K-12. So that was really fun. Our digital collection, we do have an ebook collection, which is one of the things that had come up in an email. We purchased into Access 360, which is part of the state of Illinois. Came off a grant program a long time ago. It was purchased by Rails. We pay into it. It's actually the same Access 360 that our public library has. So we actually purchased into that program as well. So our students do have ebook available to them. And now with the integration with Follett, they can actually read those books on their Chromebooks. So actually, a couple years ago, we had it. It was a very slow rollout because not all our district had our portals yet. So now that we do have that availability, it'll be a big push for me this year as well. We do have nonfiction databases. We offer Gale to our students, Encyclopedia Britannica online, and then we do have a World Book that we just purchased this year, which do include full databases in Arabic, Spanish, and then we also have an ebook collection in there as well. So our Arabic and Spanish databases, they are written, actually they're not translated, which is something that our teachers who are teaching in those areas were really concerned about. They're actually written, World Book actually hires people to write them in Arabic and Spanish. So we do not have that availability because we have such that international kind of language going on.
Little better thing to go translate.
Much better.
Much better,
And
yes.
one of the things too with those nonfiction databases we're trying to do is we're trying to give them the quality information for research quicker. For me, we value it. So a lot of our students actually will sit online and they'll Google things and they just kind of get lost in this, all this fake news and what's going on these days. So we want to make sure that we're providing really safe spaces for them to do research on. And so that's why we purchased one of these programs. So it's really great. The stats on those are increasing and we have started teaching that at the lower levels. So we've been doing it for about 3 years at the secondary level, so I'm really excited to see that progression and how well students are going to be using those databases over the next 3 years. And then even our littles, and when they start progressing on how much more important those are going to become prevalent on those as well. So overall collections per school, my principal's having this, yeah, this is kind of fun. So we do have our totals here. These numbers have decreased a little bit because we've been doing large weeding projects, like I said. While we went through a huge weeding process this year, the high school has been going through a 3-year weeding process because the collection is just old. As you can see in the last column, you actually have the average age of the collection with Follow Destiny. You can actually go through and run statistics on our collection, so I can figure out how old it is, what the percentage is on like nonfiction versus fiction we have in the library. And then one of the things I always kind of keep looking at and I'm trying to increase is this average age of the collection. So at the high school, our collection is almost 20 years old on average. So those are things, and then I can identify using the program, going down and seeing the last time something was published. Like we just got rid of a book that was published in like 1923. It became a primary resource at that point. So we need to start moving those things out and making sure we're bringing up to-date resources. So that's really great, and then you can actually see the value of the collection per school as well. So those numbers are just kind of fun and increasing. And I just want to point out that Banner has one of the most books, and they're like the small space. So we really grab it. It's really great. And Craig's really proud of it too, which I love. So our library statistics, when you look at the schools, so this is kind of, I broke it down in total wise, but this is how many books were added this year alone at each one of the buildings. Hickory Grove had a huge surge. They have a really awesome PTO that worked really hard. They had like 3 book fairs this year, so we were able to add over 1,200 new books to Hickory Grove this year. Specifically for that school, one of the things I'm looking at is actually just adding more books to Hickory Grove because they have more students. And so what we were seeing is the kids on Tuesday would check out books, and the kids who came on Friday, there was nothing left for them. And so we went through this transition of just trying to get more books for them to give the kids just the equity that they needed. So that's been great. And then the added value of those books. And then how many books were actually checked out per building this year, which is one data point that I want to point out. This was the question that was asked. It's one data point that I'll look at to kind of judge and gauge on where the direction of that school is going. And then from there, if there's problems or there's successes, kind of how I can target those. The question that came up was, why is DHS's checkout so low? I am actually proud to say that that's the highest amount of checkouts that we've had at DHS in the last 10 years. And I have that data for you if you're interested on those numbers. It's something that I've been tracking. So 2,700 is actually really awesome. But the reality is at the high schools, we're working with a different group of it's a different beast, honestly. We start having the kids who can drive. They want their own book collection. They're buying off of Amazon. Honestly, their schedules are so packed that they're having a hard time coming to the library. During study hall, they're doing other things. And honestly, when I ask the high schoolers why they stop reading, because I see them, because I'm in all 8 buildings, like last year you're always in the library, what happened? That's the one thing that gets dropped from their schedule because they are so busy. But we do, however, we have our regulars that come down all the time. But the one thing that I do at the secondary schools is we always talk about library visits. So that's actually one of the bigger things that I look at is how many of these kids are coming to the library day and using the space in general. So the high school by itself, even though we're not checking out a lot of books, we are seeing on average about 110 students a day that are coming to the the library on their own on a pass to use it. That's before school, after school, on their lunch period, during study hall, they get a pass from a teacher. This is not with the class, this is like free range and choosing to go to the library. When I first started here 4 years ago, we only had 64 kids who were checking the library a day on average. So that has went up almost 50% just in the last 4 years with all the work that we've put into it. So while book checkouts, it's a thing I watch, and it's at the highest it's been, it's only one data point. Does that answer the question?
It does, yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. And then the other ones too, like at the elementary school, we have to remember they're on a fixed schedule, so I see those kiddos once a week regardless, so they're always coming to the library. And once they start getting to middle school, it's more of a flex schedule. So they're using their homeroom, that Panther Pride, that SLC, that study hall. And so I keep track, the middle schools especially, I look at total number of checkouts there, and then we're also looking at like visits, so. Okay, good. The second one we talk about is collaboration. We talk about collaborations with our teachers and our students. These are two things that I look at, and these are the things that drive my work as a district librarian. We do actually have state standards for libraries, so standards that kids are getting when they come to the library. We do the best that we can in the 25 minutes that our students are with us. This is something, now that we have the paid aides in the building, it is something more that I can direct a little bit more formally. So it is a big push for this coming year that we'll have those standards laid out for those aides to make sure that we're hitting our kindergartners know like what a spine is and what a title page is. Those things are important. And then we also look at the Future Ready Librarian Framework, which we are Future Ready School. I am part of that when it comes to the 4 groups of people that are kind of leading that path. The librarians are leading the charge in one of these areas. And so I am actually part of and working on fulfilling kind of these 8 little wheels that we have here. So these are the things that we drive, and then it's actually broken down within the framework of the activities that are kind of going in these little areas. It's a lot, but we're working on it. The other things that we do to help collaborate, there's this giant list here, I'll just highlight some. We do host book fairs. These are separate than the ones that our PTOs run. So our PTOs collaboratively have run 7 of their own book fairs this year, and then I ran 10 of them. These are the ones that are signed and contracted by myself and then ran by my team and I. We do showcases. We hosted a lunch with loved ones. I did this year start a podcast as well that is nationwide, and I'll be listening to all over the world. I don't know why, but it's great. We also did a winter book drive. I worked with the tech coaches, and we did the bingo. We also donated, this is like a really low estimate, but I also make it a priority to donate books to other community outside organizations. So we work really closely with the Boys and Girls Club to donate books to them. We always do a donation grant at Christmas as well. That's something that's really close to me. So I always make it a point to kind of share that with them. And then I hope with presentations, I'm on our leadership committees as well. So there's a lot of things that I get to my fingers and whatever I can, or whatever I'm excited to, honestly. The last one is we talk about space. Space has been huge for me over the last 4 years. It's been great, but these are all the renovations that we have done. The biggest renovation we have had is at the high school. We put over $150,000 into the high school library in the last 3 years. That's everything from carpet to, we now have electricity running underneath our carpet. When we were going to go one-to-one, it was really important for me to add more outlets because it was like 8 in there. I don't know, it's a huge space. And so what we did is before we laid the carpet, we got in under the carpet's electrical system. So now we have outlets everywhere for our students to be able to plug in. We got furniture, we got shelving in. A lot of the shelving in there is built locally, used with local wood. That was really important to me. We have a whole market report down there for classrooms. We got the 16-foot conference table down there where we host our district leadership. And so the space is really coming along. And actually in the last week we have new lights. So they actually installed the lights in there. So it's great. Which is great. DVMS got their learning zone, and then they also have a new smartboard, 2 55-inch TVs. The space is really skinny, so we can actually project the length of that space as well, which is used all the time by classes. They have these little booths, and it's really amazing. DMS has new furniture, a smartboard, and then this coming year, the Panther patio door will be going in at DMS, so we'll actually have access to the outside. It'll be the only space that we have that will be going outside as well. And then the other ones coming up for this year, new lights in some of the building, new shelving units. DGS just moved their library, so we actually just shifted that library down the hallway into a new space. And then RES is coming in. Actually, we just found out that one's going to be put on hold a little bit, but it is in the works. So these are all the renovation spaces. I've got a couple pictures of the new high school library. If you haven't been down there, it's a sight to behold, it's really amazing. I also have pictures if you're interested in one, here's the line. Side by side, that was really great, but I'm really proud of the space. So the last one here is funding, just to kind of see people really was interested. We've had $50,000 put into the library this year alone. $50,000. So I broke it up into different categories, and you can see that over 50% of that is actually donated by our PTOs district-wide. So our PTOs, I cannot thank them enough on so many levels how much money they donate to the library. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them and their help. But I was able to kind of break it down to what the district provides, what curriculum, what Mrs. Bowman provides to me when needed, the book fairs, how much the book fairs, just for reference here, the book fairs, those are the ones that I sign contracts to. Those are not the book fairs that the PTO does, and then they, most of the time they have a book fair and they'll say like, hey, we have X amount of dollars for you to spend for the library. That's not the case. So these are the book fairs that we run as a district. I had a private donor just write us a $1,000 check, and then instructional, those are the principals that, will give me instructional funds to purchase a board out something. So that's kind of how that funding is broken up.
And then the last one here actually just talks about a little bit broken down. Our libraries Amy would not have been able to do near the work she could without all of the donations and PTOs like she's talked about. And so we won't go through this line by line, but really it is a huge testament to the community that we live in and the abilities that we able to help with that, because we would not be where we are without that outside funding. Outside funding compared to district funding is much greater. So, and also as you can tell, we would not be where we are right now without the passion that Amy brings to our library program. So we're very fortunate to have her and have such great libraries in our buildings that we hope to keep growing and improving. So, any questions?
Thank you very much.
For Amy?
Great.
Any other questions?
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Very good.
Dunlap High School Principal David Johnson is here to present information regarding esports.
Good evening. Thank you to the board for the opportunity to talk about esports tonight, and also for Mrs. Bowman for joining me to talk a bit about it as well. Very knowledgeable on esports and also school programming overall, so that's much appreciated.
I'm learning about sports.
This as well. It has been a recent craze, so to begin, let's go with the definition of what we're talking about with esports. It's electronic gaming or competitive gaming, very popular amongst young people, especially at the collegiate level and the high school level. Teams schedule online for high school, just like they do for athletics. So they're competing against people from around the area, from around the state, nationwide as well. And in here is an embedded video if you want to check it out later, which shows what these competitions are kind of like. If you can imagine it, instead of NBA Finals Game 6, if you're looking down at the League of Legends Championship, it's a comparative crowd. So it's very well followed around the world, also in the arenas where they hold these events. So the popularity of esports we are catching up with as well at the high school level. 126 colleges and universities had teams compete in the NCAA tournament in 2018. 55 Illinois high schools have committed to joining esports. Also some local teams are in that mix as well. We'd like to be among them. We're also looking at Morton is going to have an esports team. Limestone currently has one as a club. Washington is looking at it as well. So we'll be in good company locally with some other competitors there. That number is expected to double in the next 2 years. So amongst our own students, we sent this poll out. It was around final season, so that's not your best feedback time because everyone's busy. But about 200 students responded, and more than half said they would be interested in joining for esports as a club or a sport. It's also really encouraging here that the male and female representation was both very high. So I think across both genders, we're going to have good representation for esports. This slide highlights Illinois Wesleyan, which is also launching their own esports program. This is interesting for a number of reasons. It talks about nationwide, there's more than 600 colleges and universities that are rolling out an esport competitive program. This also talks a little bit about that viewership that's up in the millions. The next year, they believe that might hit Super Bowl type numbers with close to 100 million people viewing the championship, so it's continuing to spread in terms of popularity. The structure of esports, very similar to other sports. Based on the demand, we have to have tryouts. There would be practices for it. Interscholastic competition would be a factor. They would have tournaments as well. The NFHS is the National Federation for Schools and involved with athletics. They also have league play currently. The IHSA follows along with what they're doing and looks to have their own state series format by 2021. So we'll be a good company there as well with IHSA rolling out series competition for us in the near future. The benefits of esports: organize and supervise play and nonviolent games. We always believe there's a strong benefit to having organized sports here under supervision, extra instruction there as well. There's the social interaction element. Some of our students might game at home in isolation, but this gives an opportunity to collaborate with others, to work on communication skills, to have that sense of belonging that comes with playing as a part of a club or a part of a sport. Positive relationship between game playing, school, and GPA. That is held true for other sports and it will hold true for esports as rolled out as a club. Connect students to other students across the Mid-Illini state, nationally. Who's to say in the future that's not international? That can be interesting as well. Brings more students under our activity code of conduct. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's also nice to have our students under that purview. Another set of standards for them to hold themselves to. Scholarship opportunities at the college level. Moving forward, we're very excited about that. One piece that came up in research is that some schools that offer esports are having recruiters follow along some of these high school esport competitions, and not just their gameplay, but also how they talk to others, how do they interact as that type of person they want on their campus. That's a nice door to open for our students as well. And lastly here, benefits of a lifelong activity in terms of why this is great for our kids. Someone who played football and basketball, you get knee injuries or back injuries, you can't be playing that on the weekends anymore as much as I'd like to. But for esports, our kids can be doing that 5 years from now, 50 years from now, throughout their lives. We're also going to have students who, due to physical impairments, might not be able to be part of a competitive sport athletically otherwise. So this will open a door for them we're very excited about. They want to compete, they want to have those interactions, and they have the opportunity to with esports. Equipment and cost, we'll be looking at 10 PCs capable of managing the gaming requirements. There'll be some miscellaneous technology needs in there, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. Software that we're talking about, these will be the primary games the students will be playing. League of Legends, Rocket League, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and NBA 2K. There would be a sponsor that we'd be looking for. We do have some teachers around the district who are into competitive gaming, so that would be nice to open it up for them. I know there'd be some interest there. For travel, a lot of this would be electronic. So there'd be minimal travel costs there, but we could also link that in with basketball teams or softball teams that are traveling and maybe set up some other scrimmages or gameplay there as well. The cost we're talking about here between $11,000 and $13,000, but that would also be for years of having those PCs. So it's not going to be a yearly cost, you're going to buy yearly costs. We're very excited to offer esports too. We think it's going to be great for our students for a number of reasons. Any questions you have about esports? How it benefits our kids?
You said 11 to 14,000
11 to 13.
for 4 years, and then the cost would be less.
So 11 to 13,000 for the initial rollout of the technology we need.
Okay.
Now we believe that would be a yearly cost or every other year. It's as long as those computers last. And the ones we're going to be buying we would have for a long term for the life of that machine. It wouldn't be a regular cost.
Thank you.
And I believe that was one of my questions, and then the other was having the space to do it, and you do have the space with the current computer lab.
We have a lab space we think would be perfect for that.
Perfect, so there's no additional cost with
It
that.
would just be upgrading the machines. We don't have any that would be capable of handling the level,
Yeah,
that you need.
the power. Great.
Another question, is there a season for this, or all year long, or what?
Parts of this happen throughout the year. I'd have to look at when the high school championship is.
I believe the competitive season starts in January. So I think they're doing more practicing in fall, and then the competitive games start in January, was my understanding.
And they probably couldn't do this and any other fall sports.
That's a good thing. Practices could contradict with one another, yes. So that would be a piece we'd have to take a look at.
Presentations I went to, they had football players that were also doing esports. They had cheerleaders that were doing esports. So there is some overlap and you can make it work. And as far as the travel goes, locally, what I heard is the way they do it is if the basketball team is going to Morton for a game, We've sent, I think, at least 2 buses now. The esports kids just ride one of those buses. So we already have a bus going there. They just piggyback on that. And then while the basketball game is going on, they'll have a little side game of their esports going on.
So this would be one team that's co-ed?
Yes.
When are you thinking of starting?
As soon as we have a green light, we'll look at how we get this underway.
We'd love to do it this next school year, if possible. We feel that the 11 to 13,000 would be within the budget and could do this for next school year as long as the board was willing to move forward with it.
Is there any concern? I mean, the World Health Organization just came out with calling video gaming an addiction. I think they announced that in May. Is there concern about kids getting worse than they already are?
It's a fair question.
Like feeding the monster.
To speak to that briefly, I would just say that a lot of our kids are gaming already, and they're gaming at home in isolation or in an unstructured environment. And we believe once you bring that into an organized sport, there's a teaching piece that goes with that. There's a monitoring about what's healthy and what's not, because we have addictions with any type of electronic usage, period. So it's part of our school that we can teach with it, and we can also incorporate those safe behaviors we want to see from our kids too.
Agreed.
So the type of gaming, you know, the violent gaming, is that something that's not a part of this?
No, it is not.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing worried or bloody or anything like that.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Great information, thank you.
Information regarding the job description for full-time assistant principal / student service coordinator is included in the packet. Are there any questions? Next, Dr. Dirmlin will share information regarding updated quotes for school security and safety.
I'll make this quick. You saw a presentation, a rather lengthy one, 2 months ago from Sentinel Technology looking at Informacast. They gave some very rough numbers. I wanted to get some hard numbers. That takes a lot of time because what we were looking at is upgrading our phone system so that every teacher has a phone on their desk. That also then serves as the PA system, so it serves a dual purpose and has a panic button on it. So if there is a problem, you hit this button, and then that Informacast, you program it. When they hit the panic button, where does it go? Do you want to go to the office, to the assistant principal, the principal, our SROs? I mean, you name it. You tell it what you want it to do. That's what we're looking at, and in conjunction with door sensors. So if a door is left open, you program it for more than 20 seconds during the day. An alarm will trip, and then a message will be sent out to, again, whoever you program it to, that, hey, door number 4 at the high school has been left open. That's a security issue. So I've gotten updated quotes, hard quotes, on the Cisco voice upgrade for the phones, then also the door stop or door sensors, and then I also had Oberlander give me a quote for running all the wires that needed. We have the proximity cards at many of our doors, but not every outside door has a little swipe thing to get in. You would want the door sensors that sense a door on every exterior door, so any door, at least the outside, is left open. So some of those are going to require some wire to be pulled. I didn't like the first quote I got from Overlander. I thought it was too expensive, so I've had Seiko and Victor and give me a quote for their work. They're doing the work down at Valley right now with the additions, putting the door proximity card readers and cameras in there, so they're very familiar with our buildings. They've done a lot of our work. They have updated their quote. Combined total to do everything was initially stated $500,000. Right now, I have a not to exceed cost of $350,000. That's still quite a bit of money. I'm not ready to make any kind of recommendation yet. I hope to next month. I want to meet with Lieutenant Quast and the safety people that I've met with, meet with our SROs, our principals, and have a conversation about what their suggestions are as far as a priority. I'm looking more at maybe a 3-year rollout plan instead of trying to bite all this off at one chunk, potentially rolling this out. And those 3 things that I would look at in no particular order. You know, the phones on the teacher's desk, the PA systems, the Informacast, that product is one item. The door sensors, sending a message when a door is left open too long is the second item. And then the third item, we've talked about many times, is the secure entrance at the high school. I want to talk to the professionals in this field and get their feedback on, of these three things, is there a priority that you think we should go with? And then once I get that, then I want to take it back to these companies and then talk to them a little bit more about price. So I need to do some more homework, but those are the things I'm working on right now.
When are you looking at it, possibly being able to finalize your decision?
You'll have it in July.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. School activities account reports are included in the board packet. Are there any questions? Seeing none, information regarding the high school random drug testing for this month of May is included in the board packet. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this concludes the information discussion item segment of the meeting. The board will now move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussions regarding the items on the consent agenda? Could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Olhauser. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wu. The board will now move on to action items.
We need a vote.
We need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Olshauser.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Humbles.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Motion carried. The board will now move on to action items. The bill list, treasurer's report, and district investment report are included in the board packet. Are there any questions? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the payment of bills, please?
Motion to approve the bills.
In the amount
Oh,
of?
here, let me go ahead. I move to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $4,413,289.66 as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Booth. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Wagenbach. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Blue.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Olshauser.
Aye.
Humbles.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Very good, motion carried. Approval of the swimming pool repairs. Information of the options for the swimming pool were presented at the June 12th special meeting. Are there any questions or discussions?
Yeah, I think we would like to continue the discussion that we have and provide some more information so the board can make decisions on two items. One is interior work that we presented last time, and the other is on the HVAC system that was presented a couple months ago or a month ago. Tom, can I ask you a favor? Tom Grimm has a lot of information on this, and if you don't mind, can you come up the front row by Caius, because I'm sure there'll be questions and you guys may want to talk. First thing I'd like to say is I want to compliment and thank the swimming pool committee. It's really a good group. They're really hardworking. They jumped right into this and took on this challenge, and I think have made a lot of strides in a very short time. So I want to compliment. There are a number of them sitting out in the audience right now, and I just want to say thank you to all of them and the ones that could not be here tonight for the hard work that they put in to get us to this point. So on the interior work that we talked about, I won't go through all of that again, but there are a number of items that we were hoping that based on having a window of opportunity now because the Dolphins aren't using the pool this summer, that we could perhaps try to get done. And so we've had lengthy discussions about that. Our pool committee met again last night, and Tom feels that of the items that we presented, we could probably get the pool painted. We'd have to empty out the pool, get the pool painted and caulked, and get the floor protrusions ground down, taken away, and the new floor surface put on in this window. We would be pressing our luck to try to paint the walls, and so he recommends that we don't tackle that at this point. Tom, is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And Caius Jemson's here from Farnsworth Group. He's been instrumental in helping us reach the decisions that we've come to tonight. You're in agreement with that too. So our committee would recommend that we tackle those 4 things. Try to get those 4 things done this summer. Tom has already instructed Farnsworth to be working on specs for those items, which he'll have by Friday. In addition to that, he's asked them to prepare specs for the painting for both the, I take that back. There was a 5th item, and that's sandblasting those girders that are rusty and painting those too. And get that done this summer.
Base of the column.
Yeah, the base of the column. And those are things that we think we can get done, but they're also preparing specs for repainting, which would not be, and some of the other things that would not be tackled until later after the board approves them. So the 5 things that the pool committee is recommending now to try to get immediately to work. Tom's ready to go as soon as Caius's group is done with the specs to get those 5 items of work bid, as we're required to do, and then immediately get to work. And I believe we talked about having a completion date in whatever contract is awarded as August 9th, correct, Tom?
Yes.
Which would be before the girls' swimming season starts on August 12th. Katie is sitting over there, her face is turning blue because she's hoping that we can get all that done. However, she has wisely made arrangements for an alternative location if something terrible happens. Correct, Katie? So we don't intend to disrupt the girls' swimming season this year. We think with these 5 things, it'll make a dramatic impact on that pool, aesthetically, visually, and I respect Tom's judgment on this. He feels like we can get this done. So if Tom feels we can get it done, then our pool committee feels we can get it done, and we're ready to recommend those 5 items to the board tonight. Tom, you or Caius have anything to add to that? Okay.
So the 5 items, we have paint, ground down the protruding
Painting the pool.
caulking,
Yes.
sandblasting, and what was the 5th item?
Putting the new non-slip
okay.
floor surface down,
Thank you.
non-skid floor surface.
Very good. Are there any other questions?
And what was the cost for these 5 items? Because we're not going to paint the actual, that's just no walls, is it less than?
We don't have a definite number yet, do we, until we actually bid them?
Right.
Do we have
It'll be
an
lower than
approximate?
the original estimate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mike, can you list those 5 again?
Yes. The safety items that we think are paramount are grinding down and removing protrusions that stick up out of the floor.
Paint the pool, caulk, non-slip surface, and painting the
Yes.
girders, sandblasting and painting the girders. I missed one. I want to make sure I had all 5. Thank you.
I mean, I think I got a quote once that was $75,000 for these 5 things. And it's got to go out to bid, so that may not stand, but whatever.
Tom, do you have a not to exceed number that you could speculate that we could use just for passing a resolution of the board, or does the board feel comfortable with where we are right now? The last number was 100,000 for 150,000, but that included painting the walls and the lighting.
I would say Kim's probably pretty close. We probably try to go with it, do not exceed 75,000. We've got several budget numbers that we have looked at. Depending on how specs come back to us, they should be pretty close. So I would like to think that worst case scenario, the budget numbers that we have could be our high numbers. So I think we'd probably be safe with it, do not exceed, say, 75,000.
Very good.
That'd be good.
I want to thank everybody for their commitment to getting this underway. All of you, I know we've kind of pushed it, but we do appreciate the time that everyone spent doing that. I think it's a priority, and especially the safety items, as Mrs. Holzhauser also reiterated last month. So with that said, if no one else has any questions, could I?
I'm going to recommend that
All right.
we, on the safe side, we are on the side of caution and say 85,000, because I don't want to lose a month coming back.
Oh, yes.
Because if it comes in at 76,000,
Right.
I know, if you put that in there, then it's no good. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Are we gonna have any discussion about the HVAC system?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that next.
Okay.
You need a resolution for that?
need a motion.
All right, and I will move.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Sure.
I would say make it 100,000 to be safe. I mean, I'd hate to, we have a tight window, and if it comes in, we don't know, we're guessing. I think they're very educated guesses, but stranger things have happened in school construction.
Sure.
And we need to do this. If it comes in above 75,000, I will communicate that very clearly with the board and the pool committee. But I really don't want to handcuff our construction people as far as timelines go.
Right.
I think that's a great idea, but I feel confident Tom's
I do too.
right on his numbers, so.
I would hope so too. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Help my ignorance. What would happen if it's over what we approved tonight? Had to wait for another board meeting?
Yeah, we'd have to wait.
And we don't have the time. I completely agree. I was thinking the same thing.
And when you're putting a deadline on it, a lot of times that will make the price go up, so.
Then I'll make a motion that the board approves the bidding and signing of contracts to perform work in the school swimming pool, caulking the pool, repainting the pool itself, installing a new non-skid floor surface, grinding down the protrusions that stick up out of the floor, and sandblasting and repainting the base of the columns.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $100,000.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Teresa.
Okay, Teresa, full houser. Motion carried. We need to do a roll call. Oh, sorry, roll call vote.
Wisdom,
Aye.
Olshauser,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Humbles,
Aye.
Wagenbach,
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Okay, motion.
Debbie, I'm going to vote no sometime, just to.
Yeah, I'll wait.
All right, now on the HVAC system, we've sent to all of you, I'm passing it around now. It is, Kais, you have this, you know all this at heart. All right, Farnsworth Group has presented 4 options to the board for dealing with the failed HVAC unit on the roof. I'll briefly just summarize those that have been sent around. I hope everybody's had a chance to look at them. Option 1 is for a one-to-one replacement of the 2 old-style units on the roof. Expected time frame for that would be 8 weeks. The cost would be somewhere in the range of $177,000 to $200,000 with a 20% contingency. What that does is it just gets the old-style system that we have that's not modern, it's not sophisticated, but it sticks it back up on the roof. It's the fastest thing. The second is a single ground-mounted unit that has a more modern system that does more, that will do a better job. The downside of it would take longer. It would take 17 weeks and the cost might be $210,000. The third option is a similar type of single unit that's more modern, more efficient, more functional, does more for us on the roof, but in order to do that, not knowing the weight that the roof can now support, we would have to add additional internal support structures. Cost of that would probably be in the range of $182,000, again, 20% contingency. I think I forgot to mention the single unit on the ground, the estimated cost would be about $210,000. Option number 4 is option number 2 with an addition of dehumidification. That does everything that option number 2 does. It would take a similar length of time of about 17 weeks, is Farnsworth estimate. and the cost would increase to about $296,000. Now, I'm going to add a couple comments, and then I'm going to turn this over to Caius and Tom for their additional information. Caius has dealt with his HVAC engineers and experts in the firm, and they say that they wouldn't design a new pool system today without dehumidification, if that weighs into people's thinking.
Could you say that again?
They would not design a new pool system without dehumidification. So I came into our last meeting a bit discouraged because I felt like our only option is item number 1. In order to get a system working again in time for the team, we could, as we discussed at our last board meeting, get the old system functioning, so it's bringing in fresh air and taking out exhaust, but it wouldn't be adding heat. So we could last until, say, September. Katie tells us that last year they started adding heat to the pool area in September. The girls' team, if we count forward to the number of days, if meeting our expectation of 17 weeks, it would put us into October. And so for perhaps 2 months, we would have to be introducing heat into the pool area. It's not, we have been thinking of internal sources of heat. Caius correctly points out that if you do that, what will be happening is we'll be bringing in cold air from the outside into our ducts, heat on the inside, it's going to be condensation.
So we still have to bring fresh air into the pool. So even if we have an internal heat source to heat the pool, we have to bring fresh air in. That air could be at 32 degrees, those ducts would be at 32 degrees, and it would be a rainforest.
Plus the idea of having a heat source inside a pool area, it's electricity, that has its obvious concerns. Gas.
And propane adds more humidity.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of issues. So we were really struggling to come up with a way that was possible because we felt like the only way was to put the whole system back on the roof. And that's old technology and it doesn't look to the future.
But frankly, given credit where it's due, Tim Wagenbach and Tom Grimm came up with an alternative. And that is to perhaps, one of several ways, but possibly find a used HVAC unit, pour a base outside where the new base will go, put the old unit there, and get it operating so it pumps heat into the pool area. Into the ductwork in the pool area. It's already heated, it's not cold air going into the ductwork. And then when the new system arrives, you take that away, you put that one on. Tim's also suggested the idea that perhaps we could find a way to make the old system limp along safely for 2 more months until we do get our new unit. But we have 2 months to try and find a way to provide the heat that's safe and not a rainforest. We will have a little bit of downtime, but it would be a fairly short period where the girls would have to practice elsewhere. And Katie feels like she has that, I think, right, Katie? But it would be a short period. We could do some of the work in advance so that it would be down for as short a period as possible. So, Tom, Caius, anything I've missed that's critical to this point?
No, when I floated the idea back to the engineer,
yes,
about providing temporary heat through the
Excuse me,
adjustment duct.
could they come here so
Yeah,
that
we
it can
can't
be heard on
Oh,
video
yeah.
or anybody?
Come on up here.
Would you guys mind?
And
Only
speak
because the
loudly so hopefully
microphone is here.
people in the audience can hear you too.
Sorry to interrupt.
So last night at the pool committee meeting, we went over the various options and we were trying to work out, are there ways to go forward that are forward-looking rather than putting the old system back? And the old system has had a history of maintenance problems. We're really putting exactly the same unit back. So if we can, to put a unit on the ground, we're going to have to modify the ductwork. We'll still use most of the ductwork, but we're going to modify so that it's served from the ground. And providing heat into that system on a temporary basis while we wait 17 weeks for them to build the unit and get it to the school is entirely possible. I floated that to our engineers, and they said that's a really solid plan. And they are extremely conservative. So to get that kind of response from them, I was really happy.
What is the cost to create that temporary situation?
So that,
The used.
that it's potentially possible to rent the unit. There are certainly units that HVAC people have on standby. You may be able to borrow a unit, or you might be able to buy a second-hand unit that's kind of at the end of its life that's been taken off. Was it Sam's? We saw a whole bunch of units.
Sam's, and then Ken actually found at least one site where you could go and buy a unit.
And did you see the cost?
Used.
It was 10 or 11,000 bucks, I think. 10,000 bucks. Was that a million BTU one that I sent you?
Right, that was the one
I don't know if that's enough or not, but.
And presumably once you've used it for 2 months, you can sell it.
Sure. Go back to eBay.
If no one else has a question, I have a question. Okay, so it'll take about 4 months to get the new unit, all right? At that time, do we have to wait till the pool season, the pool is down again, or can we quickly switch that out? So we're not waiting till March? So if it comes in, say, December or January, is that a quick process of taking the old unit off, putting the new one in, and just hooking it up?
So there's work that would need to be done in advance of it arriving. Running the gas line, running power, running controls, and potentially you could get and modify the ductwork. It's probably only a week's worth of work inside the pool.
So that could be done, though, while we still have this other older borrowed used
Yes.
unit running, okay?
And
Rather
we need to
than
do
waiting
ductwork.
till March.
So once it arrives, switch over would be very quick.
Very good, thank you.
So I guess this is a bigger picture item, and maybe that people still have questions about what's being presented here. But I guess I'm wondering with the committee and everyone's input, what is our end goal here? So if we do the safety concerns, those 5 items that the committee recommended, and then we replace the HVAC system, then is that it? Because like we were talking about the field house 4 or 5 years ago, or is this a temporary thing that we're going to end up doing something differently? So then that becomes a question of how much are we going to spend? I mean, we need to do these things. Sounds like it's more than a Band-Aid, but yet, again, we haven't developed our overall strategy. So you want to be, as prudent as possible with the money that you're spending if you're going to end up doing something else, 3 to 5 years down the road. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I'm just wondering, where is the committee on the overall goal as you've looked at, the options?
That's a good question. It's a fair question. The committee, in its mind, is still in the process of doing its assignment, but we don't have the answers on that. In the meantime, we have an emergency with the
Get the
HVAC
pool open, yeah.
that we have to address one way or the other if we want to have a swim team. The other is there are safety issues that as a board member, don't feel predisposed to allow to continue. That's those protrusions and that slippery floor surface. So those are 2 items that absolutely have to get done. If we're trying to, and how long do we put off making decisions on other things while we're finishing our work and considering what would probably be more long-term decisions if we decide to go those routes, which would be a new pool or a collaboration. So I think we find ourselves at a position where we can't keep pushing decisions off down the road. The HVAC has to be done. If we want to do the cheapest route just to get by, we could take option number 1. When we could not paint the pool. I would not feel comfortable not doing the protrusions and the new non-skid floor, if that's what the board decides. in any event, whatever we do, we're going, with that 20,000 square feet, we're going to need HVAC equipment in there. It would not have to be as sophisticated as this, it wouldn't have to have dehumidification. But even if we convert that into classrooms or storage or something else, we want to have a new HVAC system that works in there. No matter what we put in there, we're probably better off putting a new, more modern system than the old 40-some-year-old system that we currently have. Correct, Tom, with the glycol and et cetera?
Yes.
That takes a lot of work just to keep it running. So as far as the committee is concerned, we're making these recommendations for the board's decision, but we intend to continue our work, hopefully coming back by the end of the summer with the final report. I don't know if that answers your question. It's where we are, though.
No, and I think that's good, and I think that, I mean, these options, the difference in price isn't significant, to where, one is 2 times as much. When you start getting into what is a good option, maybe even to keep if you do something else, if you pick the forward thinking instead of the archaic HVAC system, perhaps that could be utilized again in another setting, if that's what the committee is, maybe they'll conclude after you do your full study. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it has to be done. Something has to be done to get that pool open. And so with these 4 options, and I think you have input.
Go ahead.
You're gonna say something. What is the committee's recommendation
I
on
think
these
we
4
are at
options?
that point. The committee recommends that we do the ground-mounted unit, a more modern system. Tom would be the one that would be finding this temporary heating source. Tim, it sounds like Tim has got his running shoes on. He's going to help him try and do it. But Tom, and again, I have respect for Tom's expertise in this. He feels, and I won't put words in your mouth, but Tom, I'll let you speak to it, but he seems to feel that we can find a solution for getting heat in there in September, October to get us until the new unit comes. Tom?
Yes, I do agree with that. I think there are, now that we've expanded our thinking, there are options that we can explore, low cost, I think, for really what we will probably need to do, probably for a month or 2, to heat that facility for use. Maybe an option to where we keep what we have and try to make the existing units run safely. That will take a little bit of time to fully understand, just to make sure, because safety of that unit is paramount. I would like to think that may be our least expensive, but we also have other alternatives that we can look to and utilize the new construction that we would already have in place to bring this heat into the building pretty effectively. So I feel very comfortable. There's a solution to this. We just haven't pinpointed the correct one at this point.
Can I say, I'll say, I mean, when this job gets done, I think it's gonna look like a new pool. And I'm gonna answer for them. I think we're going into the renovation route rather than spending $8 million for a new one. And the people that came and looked at the pool that I talked to, they said, this is a good facility. It's a good pool. I mean, it's been sidelined for a lot of years, and it showed. So I think just doing some necessary upkeep would really make a difference.
I think Cheryl brought up a good point. The difference between the units, I know $86,000 is a lot of money, but when you look at the lifespan of the pool and spread that over time, it's minimal dollars. We have a very small window of opportunity to get this right. Let's do it right. Let's do it the best possible way that we can. Of course, being fiscally responsible, but also let's think long term in that, this pool's gonna be around longer than we probably will be. We want it to last, and let's not put cheap stuff in there. And I know it's a little bit more money, but over time, it's really insignificant. And depending on what unit you put in there, if you put in a good quality unit, you'll probably make up the difference of the cost in efficiency, lack of downtime, repair costs. I'm guessing it's probably going to work itself out in the end anyway. So that would be my suggestion to the committee as they move forward, and to the board when they make decisions. And let's make sure that we don't just try and save every dollar. Let's do this thing the right way. If it costs a little bit more, sometimes you get what you pay for.
Thank you. The rest of the committee's recommendation is to do the ground-mounted unit, but hopefully the board would agree. The biggest complaint I think that we hear is the environment in there. So if we could take the extra step and add the dehumidification, we'll address a lot of the problems and the complaints that we have. So the committee would like to see the board approve option number 4.
So just to clarify, with that dehumidification system, just as Dr. Dearman was saying, do you agree that we'll cut down on needing to paint as often, you don't have as much moisture hanging on the walls, that causes less rusting, it's, less slipping, so it probably would kind of pay for itself over a matter of a few years.
Yes. The pool environment is incredibly aggressive.
Yes,
Anything we can reduce.
water, anything with water. So are you going to add this to the motion this evening, or?
You can make a new motion. Dr. Dearman, what a number that you feel comfortable with that we could propose, because I don't think this number, the assessment from the Farnsworth Group, contemplates the addition of temporary heat, which we'll have to do in order to meet the time frame that's required.
I do have an additional question. And I know that the pool committee team and the athletic leadership team, I'm sure, will work in parallel as you look at potentially that field house facility in several years, right? So with this unit, in the event that a field house in the future would happen that would include a pool, would this would work if we would utilize in a different capacity? Would this be the best unit for that as well? If it would, let's say, turn into classroom space?
Within a reasonable time period, and the pool is at a similar volume. I mean, if you decide that the new pool needs to be 12 lanes, then no. But if it's roughly the same size pool, then it would work, yes.
So if you were to increase the spectator seating and everything, but not the pool itself, like, so if you increase it 15, 20%.
Go with a much larger space, I think is what he said.
Okay, perfect.
Because if we go with 12 lanes, do we take this unit, move it there, add an additional unit with more tonnage to contribute to that?
Quite possibly.
Feed right into the same deck system.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And,
Okay.
and at the time, you can evaluate whether that's worthwhile in terms of cost, or whether it's better just to leave it and serve the classrooms in that space.
Yes, exactly. Perfect, thank you.
Mike, you'll need to amend. We have the agenda item of pool repairs. This falls in that category, so we'll need to go back and amend the previous motion to add those items you just stated, and then take another roll call.
So to add the amount that you previously stated plus
Plus the
whatever.
5.
Okay,
The 5 plus the HVAC will be a new motion.
okay.
Do we need a dollar amount on the HVAC?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed, but we need more than,
More than this number?
yes.
More than 100.
No,
That was done. Yeah, that's
yeah, but we need more because there's going to be temporary.
So
units in there.
300 plus
Right.
temporary.
I'd say both items,
Not to exceed
not to
450.
exceed 425,000.
No, like it's not going to exceed that.
Yeah.
For both.
Then I have to
Yes.
amend the original motion?
Yes.
As opposed, all right, then I'll offer an amendment to the original motion that simply adds the acquisition and installation of a new ground-mounted HVAC system with dehumidification, the combined cost not to exceed $425,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Wisdom,
Aye.
Bluth,
Aye.
Humbles,
Aye.
Wagenbach,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Holzhauser.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Guys, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
concludes the action item portion of the meeting. Could I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
I move to adjourn to closed session for the following purposes as stated in the Open Meetings Act.
So seconded.
She needs to read it.
She has to read the whole thing.
Just pipe down over there.
No, I don't. I've done enough talking.
I'm going into this.
The public sector.
So that was Mrs. Holhouser. Who's our second?
No, she's got to read it.
She was, okay, read it.
Okay, you didn't have anything to say. The appointment, employment, compensation, and performance of specific employees, student disciplinary cases, collective negotiation matters, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed, security procedures, purchase of lease of real property, and litigation.
Are you done?
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom.
I thought I
Roll
was
call vote, please.
Holzhauser. Wisdom.
Aye.
Humboldt.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Henry.
Motion carried.
I'm still new at this. We have a quorum.
Yeah, I think we
Could I have a motion to return to open session?
I move to approve the,
Oh,
we're,
we're already in open session. Could I
Yeah.
have a motion to approve human resource consent agenda for 2018-2019?
I move to approve the Human Resources Consent Agenda for 2018-19 as presented.
Mrs. Bluth, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Wagenbach. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Blue.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Holzhauser.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Motion carried. Could I have a motion to approve the human resource consent agenda 2019-20?
I move to improve the human resources consent agenda for 2019-20 as presented.
Mrs. Holhauser, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holzhauser.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Wisdom.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Humboldt.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Motion carried. Could I have a motion to request for, on the request for unpaid leave of absence?
I move to deny the request of William Wade for an unpaid leave of absence and direct the administration to remove Mr. Wade from the employment roles of the district.
Thank you, Mrs. Holhauser. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Wisdom, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holzhauser.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Humboldt.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Motion carried. Could I have a motion to approve the release of information from the March 2018, or the March 18, 2015 closed session minutes?
I move to make available for public inspection that portion of the closed meeting minutes of the March 18, 2015 closed meeting pertaining to the request of Amy Fairfield Doring's request for a public name clearing hearing and the board's discussion.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Blue.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Holzhauser.
Aye.
Humboldt.
Aye.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Motion carried. Could I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes?
I move to approve the closed session minutes of the regular board meeting of May 15th, 2019, special meeting of May 29th, 2018, and special meeting of June 12th, 2019 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Wagenbach. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Wisdom. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Wagenbach.
Aye.
Wisdom.
Aye.
Henry. Aye. Holzhauser. Humboldt.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to
Guys,
adjourn.
I got this. I move to
You're too
adjourn.
late.
Second.
Jinx.
Okay, any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Meeting is adjourned 8:05.